Hey, I'm just getting it set up. So first I'm opening up all of the relevant tabs to this video. Hey Tomicado, yeah, I went live. I was 7 minutes late, or I guess 5 minutes late or something. All right, I'm checking the cryptocurrency market cap for the day. Don't want that. Bitcoin is up today. Ethereum. So the top three are up. Ripple's down, but I don't keep up with Ripple too much. It has a gigantic coin supply of 38.6 billion. Okay, so the websites that you're going to want to have are coinmarketcap.com, which lists all of the cryptocurrencies. You can sort them in whatever order you want. I have them sorted by market cap, but you can sort them by change in the past 24 hours. So you could see in the past 24 hours, Einsteinium is up the most, and Zencash is down the most out of, I think there's like 300 and something total. This page only lists the first 100. But I think it's usually you just want to go by market cap. And then this is the graph of 7 days for each coin. But if you want to look at a longer graph, you can go to Poloniex or Bittrex. You go to markets. One second. I can't read the chat while this is up. I'm going to pull it up on a different screen. Okay. Now I can see the chat. Okay, so here on Bittrex, you can do the same thing. Oh, I did not want to hear myself on the other. Okay, so Bittrex isn't going to list all of the currencies. CoinMarketCap will list all of the currencies. Bittrex exchanges a lot of currencies. If you choose max rows, you can look at all, and it exchanges however many that is, which is less than 300. And then Poloniex exchanges even less than Bittrex. They probably have like 70 coins. But they have some that Bittrex doesn't have, which is the only reason you'd want Poloniex in addition to Bittrex. Poloniex sometimes has more trade volume. You can see the trade volume right here. This is measured in Bitcoin, so if the current Bitcoin price is $9,344, you just multiply these numbers by that number, so by 9,344, and that would be the trade volume on this website for each particular coin for the day. So if you want to be able to get most coins, it's good to have a Bittrex account. I'd say Bittrex is number 1. Binance is probably number 2. And then Poloniex is number 3. I just recently started using Binance, and they have the lowest exchange fees. And they also have a beginner mode and an advanced mode as far as the exchange goes. Not sure. Yeah, so see they have basic and advanced. Basic, I don't know if it's really that much easier, but I usually run it on advanced because it looks cooler. I change these 5 minutes. So now all the green marks are 5-minute periods where it went up, and the red marks are 5-minute periods where it went down for that particular currency. So if you wanted to look at Bitcoin, you'd have to go to US dollars. Bitcoin, you can see the graph. And then if you look at, you can sort it by 1 day per ticker. So right now each ticker is 5 minutes. Now each ticker is 1 day. And then I'm pretty sure Binance is a relatively new site, so I don't think you can go back that far. Versus if you go on Poloniex, you can run back however old this site is, which I left the tickers at 5 minutes, but you can go back to, what year is this? I think that's sometime in 2016, maybe. It says the date right there, but it's only listing them by month. So I think that's like 2 years ago or something. You can go back even farther on other websites if you just want to look at the graph, but at a certain point it kind of becomes irrelevant. So the first site that you probably need to focus on, so as a complete noob, these are all ways you keep track of the price of each currency. Why use 3 different sites? Or they are all sites that facilitate buying and selling. So those 3 sites were exchanges that facilitate buying and selling. The only reason you would have more than one is because certain exchanges have certain coins that other exchanges don't have, which if say you want a certain coin, so I'm trying to think of a coin. Okay, so say you wanted IOTA. IOTA is up 2.81% in the past 24 hours, down 3.71% if you compare it to Bitcoin, and that's just because Bitcoin's up a lot today. But so you can click this button to look at what markets it's traded on, and if you notice, it's traded on Bitfinex, which doesn't do business with the US starting in a couple weeks. Binance has it. Those are just more Bitfinex. So if you notice, Bittrex, which is this one, and Poloniex don't carry IOTA as an option. So if you wanted that particular coin, you would have to get a Binance account. I don't think there's any coins that Poloniex doesn't have. So I used to use Poloniex, but I still use it, but not as much. So Poloniex is probably the least important. Bittrex would be the most important, and Binance would be the second most important. Hey, Sirlox, how's it going? And then Coinbase is the site where you're going to get, where you can buy one of 3 cryptocurrencies with US dollars. It's pretty much the only way that you can get, if you're a US citizen, that you can get cryptocurrency with US dollars. Most of the other sites are for Europe. So if you want to get Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Ethereum, you have to use Coinbase. So you use Coinbase, which I'll put a link in the description that will link you to Coinbase, because if you use the referral link, you buy $100 or more worth of Bitcoin. I don't think it has to be all at once, but I bought more than $100 my first time, so I didn't really test out buying 50 and then 50. But you get $10 of free Bitcoin on top of what you bought. So you only use this site to buy the Bitcoin in the first place, and you can buy it with a credit card or just directly from a bank account. And then you would transfer it to Bittrex, Poloniex, or Binance. And you can make an account on all 3 if you want. It doesn't cost anything to make an account, and you don't have to put money in the account. You can just make all 3 accounts if you wanted, and then send the money to whichever account has the coins that you want. I would say Bittrex because it has the most coins, but I'm pretty sure the fees on Binance might be slightly lower. All the fees are pretty low. They range from 0.15% to 0.25%. On Bittrex, the fees are 0.2%. On Poloniex, the fees are 0.15 if you're placing a buy or a sell order that isn't already filled. So if you're like making a price option for someone, it's 0.15%. And if you're the one taking a price that's already listed, you pay 0.25%. So Poloniex and Bittrex both average out to 0.2%. Bittrex is just 0.2% all of the time. I usually sort Bittrex by 3 rows, and I sort it by percentage change so I can see what's going up at any given time. But yeah, let me see if I can add a link in the description. Thank you for the info, Clark. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for watching. I'm seeing if I can put the link in. I'm gonna see if I can just post it in chat from here and then put it in the description. Yeah, I can. So let me go to the chat box. Oh, there it is. All right. Well, I'll just click it. I'm not sure if I can copy and paste the entire link. Maybe I can. Copy link address. Buy Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Ethereum here. use this link to get $10 free on purchase of 100 or more. All right, I think that put it in there. If I click show more. Yeah, okay, so that's in there now. Let me see if I can unclick that. Okay. So I was working with my little brother who you have to be 18 or older to buy cryptocurrencies, and he turned 18 this month. So he wanted to get cryptocurrencies. So he was gonna get $200 worth of cryptocurrencies. And so I was just going through the sign up process on Coinbase today, and it's pretty simple. The only annoying part is taking since it's a financial website, you have to take a picture of your ID. So it turns out that it was hard for me to take a picture without shadows. What I ended up doing was I put the ID on a slanted surface so that it wasn't glaring from the lights or having shadows from my hand. We're going to end up making his account tomorrow because he accidentally used his ID from before he was 18. He got a new ID, so that ID was expired, and it wouldn't take the ID. And we didn't realize it was his expired ID until we tried so many times that it blocked us out for 24 hours. And then we realized we were using the wrong ID. So we're going to have to set his up tomorrow. But essentially, what you do is you click sign up. Well, that already has mine on there, or my old one. Let's see if I can find Coinbase. Let's see if this one. I don't know if you click new to Bitcoin. I click sign up. So basically, you would type in your name, your email, choose a password, do that reCAPTCHA thing, certify that you're 18 or older. Then you'll verify your phone number, and then your account will be set up, and you have to verify your email. But then when you try to buy Bitcoin, it'll ask you to verify your identity, which just means you either take a picture of the front and back side of your driver's license or a photo ID. So it's pretty simple as long as you don't use an expired ID. And once you're on there, there'll be a buy and sell Bitcoin option, and you can choose Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum. Those are the only three that you can buy straight up with US dollars from a bank account. And so say you want to buy Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Ethereum, then you would transfer them over to, say, your Bittrex account. And what you're going to do is let me see here. You would go, whenever you log in, there will be a button that says wallet. So you can go to your wallet, you type in whatever coin you're looking for. Assuming you just made your account, all the balances will say 0. So you would just, on the search bar that would appear when you click wallet, you'd type in, say you bought Bitcoin, you'd type in BTC, which is the symbol for Bitcoin. You can't trade Bitcoin in Bitcoin markets because you'd be trading it against itself. So you can trade it in US dollar markets, which would be right here. You can see it's up 7.2% for the day. But there would be a plus and a minus. The plus is to deposit Bitcoin. So you click the plus, you copy and paste this long address code that it gives you. Then you go onto your Coinbase, you click send, choose Bitcoin, paste that link, the deposit link address into Coinbase, and that will allow you to send it over. So it may ask you for, it may send you a confirmation email. I'd say about 60% of the sites do. I can't remember if Coinbase specifically does. I know if you try to move money out of Poloniex, it'll ask for a confirmation email, and then I think it does for Bittrex. I think you'll get a verification text with Coinbase. So do you link your bank account? It says that trades may take 4 to 5 days to process. Does that cause any problems? Yeah, so if you link your bank account, it takes 4 to 5 days for a process. It can be quicker and it can be slower, depending on how much trading is happening on the website at that time. So if there's a lot of trading, if you use your bank account, it can take, sometimes, depending on, they don't count weekend days. So if you count weekend days, it can take like 9 days. If you say ordered on, like, maybe if you ordered on a Friday and then you went through that weekend, which didn't take any time off, and then you went through the week. So it can take like 3 to 9 days for buying Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Ethereum on Coinbase. So once you get that over with, everything is instant. So say I'm over here, I want to get, say I want to get some of this one. This one's probably going to have a ridiculous looking graph. Yeah. So this is like 24 hours or something. But you can put it in 5 minutes. You can put it in a month ticker symbol. I usually put it in 5 minutes unless I'm trying to zoom out, because you can't zoom out as far when you're in 30 minutes. So you can see that's like 2 days ago. That was pretty flat. And then I haven't been keeping up with this coin, so then I went down, that, then spiked again, fell some, then spiked again. So for today, it's up 124%. But so if you made a trade on here, it would be instant. But to answer your question about does that cause any problems? Yeah, that does cause problems sometimes. They do have an option to instant buy coins. If you use a credit card, it's instant purchase. If you use a bank account, like 3 to 9 days. It'll tell you how long it's going to, exactly how many days when you're placing the order. So you can always check how long the wait is currently at by typing in the order and then just not confirming it until you read how many days it's going to take. It'll tell you exactly what date your Bitcoin will arrive in your wallet. So the benefit to the slow buy would be that it has a 1 I think it's either a 1 or a 1.49% fee. You don't want to buy and sell on Coinbase because A, it takes forever, and B, it has higher fees if you compare 1.49% to 0.2%, but you have to use Coinbase to get the Bitcoin in the first place. Then you move them to the other exchanges and you can trade them all you want instantly for low fees. But when you're buying a cryptocurrency with US dollars initially, you have to go through Coinbase. So the bank transfer, you have higher buy limits weekly. Depending on what level of verification you bother to do with your account, your buy limit could be anywhere between 2,500 weekly and 100,000 weekly. I think mine's at like 10,000. But so that has a 1.49% fee and will take 3 to 9 days. And the instant buy has a 4% fee. That's where you use the credit card. It has a 4% fee and it'll have a lower max buy limit, which will vary from account to account. Some people's is a couple thousand. For whatever reason, mine is like 500 or something. So sometimes I'll do an instant buy and a slow buy. But the benefit to the instant buy is that you get it faster. So say Bitcoin, you buy it and then Bitcoin goes up for the next 3 to 9 days. You would have been better off buying it with the slow buy for 1.49% fee, because if there was no point where you'd wanted to sell it in that duration, you saved money on the transaction fee and you weren't going to sell it anyway. So in that situation, you want to do the slow buy. If you are worried that Bitcoin is going to go down, you're not sure if it's going to go up or down, you're not confident, I usually would, in that case, go with the instant buy because then you're free to buy and sell coins with it right away. Well, in like 30 minutes, it takes like 30 minutes to get to you on Coinbase, and then I think Ethereum and Litecoin are about instant. Bitcoin can take like 20 or 30 minutes for the instant buy. But so say if I look at the Bitcoin chart, so if I look at it at the past month, you can see here it was going up. So say you bought it here with the instant buy, like somewhere around this top part. You bought it with the instant buy. Like say you bought it right here. You're going to get it, and then you could sell it when it's up here, or just as it starts to go down, you can sell it. Usually I wait to see it start going down before I sell. And then, but you would have had any time between these like 3 days to sell it. Versus if you did the slow buy, you couldn't sell it during the days that it was going down. Of course, it would have taken 3 to 9 days. So say you bought it here, 3 days later is like over here. But if it took you 9 days, then you'd be like over here and it'd be up anyway. But if you're buying it here, the slow buy would have definitely been better because you saved 2.5% transaction fee and it's just been going up, so you weren't going to sell it anyway. Now it's up 8.6% for the day. So it just depends on what you want to do. I do both instant buys and slow buys. I prefer the instant buy because in cryptocurrency, 2.5% isn't really that much. So an extra 2.5%, if I have to pay an extra 2.5% to have about instant control over my money, I would prefer to do that, because say you bought here, it took 9 days. Yeah, it would have gone up and you would have made money. But if you had bought the instant buy right here, you could have sold it. Say you sold it right here once you realized it was going down. Then once it got to say here or something, you realized it was going back up, you could have bought back in. Whereas, so by selling it here and buying it here, you got more Bitcoin. So you would have made more money over the course of that 9 days. Now, in both situations, you wouldn't have lost money, but you would have made more money if you did the instant buy. And if you look really close, it's hard to see. I can zoom in. But on this day, it actually spiked down really hard. You can see some of that yellow down there. It actually went to like 5,500, or it was really briefly, so it's hard to see, but these are where the majority of the transactions were. So say you were able to buy it, assuming you're not going to call the exact bottom, but when it does double bottom, that usually means it's going up. So see how it bottomed at the exact same point both times. So if you were watching that, you'd have probably bought it by like here, but let's just assume you bought it here. You would have sold for 7,100 and bought it for 6,500, and then you could have had more Bitcoin while you were gaining all these percentage gains. So if that answers your question about which one's better, it's personal opinion, and depends on how much you're trying to buy. If you're trying to buy more than your credit card limit, you're going to have to do the slow buy, or otherwise buy the max credit card limit and then wait a week and then buy it back, buy it again instantly. So if I'm trying to buy more than my credit card limit, I'll put the max amount on the credit card and then I'll put the rest of it on the slow buy, the bank account. And I personally haven't had any trouble with the slow buy, but I like to have control over my money at all times. So say I get home and I see that it's going down, then I want to sell it so that I can buy back in. And what you do is you sell it into USDT. You don't move it back to Coinbase, sell it back into your bank account. That would take a long time and be a waste of money. But if you do USDT, that's the equivalent of $1. So you can hold it in USDT, which is like the cryptocurrency equivalent of $1. So it'll stay at the value of $1. So if you sold your Bitcoin for USDT here at 7,200, let's say you had 0.1 Bitcoin and you sold it at 7,200, you get 720 USDT. And then when it was down here at 6,400, you could have bought it back and you would have made I don't remember. I think we said 720 and 640. So 720 over 640 equals. You would have ended up with 12.5% more Bitcoin. So it's always good to do the instant buy, in my opinion, for situations like that where you can buy it when you see it start to, you sell it when you see it start to go down, and then buy it when you see it start to go up. but sometimes it's just not practical to do the instant buy if you're trying to buy thousands of dollars worth. Say you wanted to buy $4,000, and I don't know what everyone's credit card limit's going to be, but say your credit card limit on the Coinbase site is $500. It's going to take you 8 weeks to buy all of it. So I would just buy the max for your credit card for that 1 week and buy the rest in the slow buy. Also, if you see it go down like this, say you bought it at the exact highest price over here that you could have bought it, and then you see it going down. If you're gonna sell, I would have sold it at least by here, or maybe by here. But if you haven't sold it by at least 6,500 or something, if you haven't sold it by here, you may as well not sell it at all, because you already kind of missed out on selling high, and you don't know when it's going to shoot back up. And as you can see, it shot back up pretty fast. So say you sold it, you waited until all the way down here to sell it. Then you're going to end up selling it. It goes down a little bit more. You're feeling good about it. Then it goes up. You're starting to question if you should have sold it. It goes back down. You're like, yeah, it was the right decision. And then it just goes boom. Now you realize clearly it's going back up at this point, and you sold it lower than you're buying it back at. So if you sell it, if you're planning on selling it, try to sell early in the dip. Otherwise, if you miss out on selling it early, if we show the dates here, you can see that from here, this was the 8th to here, this is like halfway through the 12th. So it's like a 4-day period. If you weren't paying attention for 4 days, it's probably too late to sell it, and you may as well just hold it. So you'd end up being fine anyway. But so if you're gonna sell it within the first 20% that it goes down, or 10%, or whatever. I think it hit like on this little tiny stick right here, it hit 7,600 or 7,800. So we'll just call it 7,700. So if you didn't sell it by the time it went down maybe 10%, you may as well just hold it and ride it out for the long term. So this is only a month graph. It's a little bit annoying on Poloniex, so you can only look at 6 hours, 24 hours. It goes a month and then just all, which sometimes you want to look at 3 months, but that's not an option. So this is the 6-hour chart. This is the 24-hour chart. This is the 1 week chart. So you can see it was kind of fumbling around, going up and down. You can buy and sell those dips, or you could just hold it since it's not really doing anything that significant. And then you, what is this, a week? So that's like 4.5 days in, it decided to start going up to now it's at 9,576. Obviously, most people aren't going to buy a whole Bitcoin. I personally don't own a whole Bitcoin. You can buy up to the 8th decimal place. So technically, you can buy significantly less than a penny worth of Bitcoin. Now, finding an exchange that will sell you a fraction of a penny worth of Bitcoin will be pretty much impossible. But the point is, you could buy like $1 worth of Bitcoin. And if it goes up 10%, you're going to get 10% on your dollar. If you buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, you're going to get 10%. It doesn't matter what fraction of Bitcoin you have, you're still going to get the same percent gain. So some people think, oh, well, the Bitcoin price is too high, so I can't buy that because I don't have $9,500. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. The percentage gain is going to be the same no matter how much Bitcoin you buy, whether you have 0.001 Bitcoin or 35 Bitcoin. So you can buy whatever fraction of a Bitcoin you want. When you're on Coinbase, you can specify the amount of Bitcoin you want in dollars. So you say like, I want $150 worth of Bitcoin. It'll just tell you how much of a fraction of a Bitcoin that is, and then you can buy it. But if you're going to buy on Coinbase, there's one thing to keep in mind, and that's the Bitcoin transaction fee off of Coinbase is like $8. So if you're buying a smaller amount of Bitcoin, I recommend buying Ethereum or Litecoin because their transaction fees are like 3 cents. If you're buying $1,000 worth, it doesn't really matter as much. And so that it'll cost you $8 to move the Bitcoin off of. I don't know if it gets a little bit cheaper. The last time I moved Bitcoin off, I moved $250 worth of Bitcoin off, and it cost $8 and a few cents. And the last time I moved Litecoin off, it was significantly less. So you have to take that into account, but also keep in mind that Bitcoin or Litecoin might be doing different things for the day. So Litecoin's down 0.31% today, which is not really that much. And that's just, if you look at it for the week, it's doing a lot better. So this is, I think, the week chart. Yeah, this is 1 week. So it's still going up. Just today, it's not going up as much. And that's because it was up here. So, or I think that's like a day ago. So it's down 0.27%, which is pretty much irrelevant. Now it's 0.21%. Ethereum's up 3.85% today. This is for the week, so that one's doing pretty good for the week. It was doing bad on this day, and now it's doing pretty good on this day. Bitcoin Cash is up a lot today. NXT is up the most today in US dollars, which not every coin is traded in US dollars. Because if you looked at that, that's like 10 coins or so. But when you go to Bitcoin versus other coins, you can see that there's a lot more. And then Vox is up 159% today now. So yeah, it turns out I should have bought some when we were looking at it earlier, but I think it's going back down. I haven't done any research on this coin, so if you guys have any specific coins you want me to research, just let me know, and I can look into them, because there's a lot of different coins and it can get confusing. So I usually spend like 4 hours a day researching different coins. So if you have questions about a specific coin, you can always ask me. Remember to use CoinMarketCap to look at all the coins. Oh, here it says there's 1,320 cryptocurrencies, but most of those are pretty much useless. Like anything past the top 300 is either just got released and hasn't gone up yet, or it's just a terrible coin. So I don't usually look at anything past the top 300. But sometimes if there's a lot of hype about a coin that's smaller cap, you can make a lot of money on it. But I would be skeptical, and I would keep an eye on the coin if it's that old, or I mean that small. Like if I go next 100, Okay, so first we'll look at the market cap of these coins. So market cap of Bitcoin is 160 billion, Ethereum's 45 billion, Bitcoin Cash is 28 billion, Ripple's 9 billion. So those are the top four. If you go down to like 97, you're no longer in the billions, you're at 67 million. So it got a lot smaller. Those are just like, that was number, I think, 67. So now we're at, so it seems there's like a lot of coins. There's like 100 coins between 20 and 64 million. And then after you get, so this is the last 300 that I'm going to scroll through. So 300 in, the market cap's under $8 million, which is really small. So if I went to the last coin, if we went from 100 and I forgot, like 160 million or something, or 160 billion to 7 point, we'll just call it 8 million. In the first 300 coins, it's going to get really, really small cap by the time you get to coin number 1,300. So that doesn't mean that there's no coins that are good past 300. You just want to be more careful about those coins, because when they're that low cap, that usually just means that they haven't proven themselves yet. So if you find one that hasn't proven itself and then you buy it and it ends up becoming a big coin, then yeah, you could make a lot of money, but you probably want to do a lot of extra research if you're going to buy any significant portion of one of those coins. Now you could buy $10 worth of it, and you could either lose your $10 or it could go up 10 or 100 times its value. But I wouldn't go throw $1,000 into a tiny cap stop or a tiny cap crypto coin. Personally, obviously, this isn't investment advice, and I'm not a financial advisor, so these are just my personal opinions. But I personally wouldn't buy a coin that is, I wouldn't throw $1,000 into a coin that's ranked 650, because you're either going to lose that 650, or if it goes up a lot, sometimes the coins that are that low, $1,000 is harder to move. If you look at the volume for the 24 hours, this was $6 billion volume in Bitcoin. But then if you go to like 501, the volume for today was $153,000. 502 was had a volume in the day of $1,852. So if you've got $1,000 in this coin and you're trying to sell it out, you're going to tank the market just trying to get your $1,000 out when the volume for the whole day was only 1,852. So you want to keep that in mind. If there's very low liquidity, which means that there's low trade volume, you need to think about how your order is going to impact the price. So it's going to be hard to sell. Say this coin goes up 50%. While you're trying to sell your $1,000 worth, you might bring the price down by 80%. So some of that you're going to be selling for a loss if you try to sell it all at once. So always check the trade volume of a coin before you get into it. And if it's this low, I wouldn't put more than $5 into a coin with less than $2,000 24-hour trade volume. That's ridiculously low. So, opinions on Dogecoin. Dogecoin is widely considered to be a joke coin, but there's just it has a big fan base, but it doesn't tend to do very well price-wise. It did have a rally recently. It's down 3.65% today, but as you can see, it was doing just about nothing for, this is back in 2014. So it came out in 2014, went up a bunch, and then tanked to 0.01 cents. And then it went up to 0.0 almost 4 cents. Then it went down, went back up a little bit, went down, went up, went down. So if you're looking for something that could spike up, it's a pretty good coin, but I wouldn't buy it until it's really low, because as you can see, every time it has spiked here, 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 every single time it spiked, it went back down. Whereas if you compare that to the graph of Bitcoin, every time it spiked, it's gone back up. So if I look at the all-time chart, so over here, it was $91, spiked up to 1,122, fell down to 600, went back up to like 800, fell down to 400. Here it fell down to 200, now went up to 400, 600, 500, 700. So it went up a lot, then it fell down, then it went up, then it fell down. Here's a little up and down, up, down, up, down, up to 1,250, down to 1,000, up to 2,800, down to, if I could get my mouse on there, 1,900, up to like 5,000 or something, down to 3,700. Here it went up to, I can't quite see it that well. I'm going to zoom in. So here it went up to 7,680, fell down to 5,580, and then it's just been going up. So as you can see, if you compare Dogecoin to Bitcoin, Bitcoin does have drops, but when you just hold it, it goes back up, whereas with Dogecoin, it drops, and it drops for a long time, and then it'll spike back up, and then drop again. But each spike is not higher than the last, so it's not overall gaining in price versus, because if you go back to the Dogecoin, if you notice over here, like the current price of Dogecoin is 0.2 cents, and that's because it just spiked. So 0.2 cents, yeah, if you bought it over here, that's good, because here's 0.02, but you might have to wait 3 years for it to have a big spike like that. So this spike, as you can see, it spiked all the way up to 0.3 or 0.37 cents. And then it went down a lot, went up a little bit, went down a lot, went up a little bit. Now it'll probably go down again. Because if you notice, these green lines are trending down. So that's the price in USD. So it's trending down. And if you notice for all of these, they're pretty much trending down too. So this one has ups and downs just like Bitcoin, but the overall price just seems to be going kind of flat. And this is a 3.5 year graph. So in 3.5 years, it hasn't really managed to go anywhere. I'm going to dinner. Talk to you later. All right, sounds good, Kamikado. Um, and then we can look at Ethereum's a lot newer, but it is the number 2 or number 3. Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum have been buying for first or second place. So Bitcoin Cash is third place, Ethereum is second place. There was that one day that Bitcoin went down to 5,500 or so. It actually went down to 5,151 if you were there on that day, because I was watching it and I sold it. I did what I told you I would do. So I took my own advice. When uh, Bitcoin was, make sure to switch this to a month. So when Bitcoin got to here, I did sell it. And I bought it personally for 5,200. So I bought it on the second one because I saw it start to make a W. W's are usually good, M's are usually bad. Not always, but I figured from here to here was a big enough for me, and it looked like it was going to make a W. So I actually bought it it had a tiny little spike down. It's hard to see, but I bought it at 5,200, so that was actually down here. But it only shows like the majority of trades. So I was kind of an outlier, and 51.51 was the exact lowest that it got, and that it went down that low because Bitcoin Cash went up a ton and took a lot of the money out of Bitcoin. Because if you look at this graph, you're going to see that right there it was up. So if I go to a month, right there it's up. So this is an inverted graph of Bitcoin pretty much. If you can see it spiked as high as, in this graph it's showing that it spiked as high as 26.15, but I'm pretty sure when I was watching it, it actually hit 2,800. When I saw this going up and Bitcoin going down was when I sold the Bitcoin. And I didn't buy it until I was confident that it was going up, which for me was like, I bought it at 1,400. So I actually didn't buy it till here. I was late to the party, but I managed to sell it at the right price. So I bought it right there, and I sold it at 2,600. So I sold it right here. And I put $700 into that. So the $700 was worth a half of a Bitcoin Cash because it was trading for 1,400 at that point. So I switched my Bitcoin, or some of my Bitcoin, into Bitcoin Cash. As soon as I saw it hit 2,600, or it might have hit 2,800, but I think it hit 2,800 and then it started to fall. And all I know is I sold it exactly 2,600 flat. So also bought it at 1,400 flat, which is kind of funny that usually it doesn't come out to that round of numbers. But so that managed to turn 700 into 1,300, and let's see how long of a period that was. I could probably switch this to 2 weeks. No, that cut it out. All right, month. Okay, so this is on, it hit 2,600 on November 12th, and it was 1,400 on November 12th. So in about 3 hours, this was like a really weird spike, and this is actually an organized pump. So it was not going to last. It wasn't sustainable, and it didn't last. But it's going back up now. So once it went down a bunch, I think right about here, I started seeing that it was trending. It was making a U shape, so it was trending back up. I decided to buy back in a little bit, but instead of buying half a Bitcoin Cash, I bought 0.25. I might not have bought it till like 14.45, but it's up at 16.75 now. Of course, like I only have 0.25 of it, so it going up like $240 or something is gave me $60 profit, but I moved most of my money into Bitcoin, and then I bought some Litecoin and Ethereum within the past week or so. I already had some Litecoin, but I bought some more, and I had some Ethereum, but I bought some more. And then I've been just buying bits of Bitcoin, anywhere between anywhere between $200 and $300 in Bitcoin. I've been buying it for like recently. I've been buying it in segments, so I'm not trying to call the exact top. But I bought some. Well, I traded the Bitcoin Cash back for Bitcoin when Bitcoin was 5,200. I bought some more Bitcoin at 6,200. I bought some more Bitcoin at 7,300. I bought some more Bitcoin at 7,900, 8,000, 8,100, 8,300. I might have bought some at like 8,900. I didn't buy it today, so I think I bought it 1 or 2 days ago. So 1 day ago, it was like 8,700. So yeah, I think I might have bought some at 8,700. I just like buy bits at a time. So that, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but for me, if I buy a portion at a time, I only do that if I'm not using the instant buy. And I have maxed out my instant buy, so I've been buying portions at a time, because since I can't touch it for 3 to 9 days, I don't want to have it. I'm not really trying to catch a top or a bottom, so I'm just buying it on an average. And once I have control over the Bitcoin, once I get it, I got my first bit of that like little buying spree that I've had. I got it on Saturday. I'll get some more on Tuesday. But since I couldn't instant buy it, I know that I can't buy or sell on dips. Usually the like an up or a down. The uptrends usually last longer than the downtrends. As you saw, the downtrend was 4 days. So when I looked at the month chart, from here to here was 4 days. So it's not like you need to look at it more than once a day, but I mean, I can go. Sometimes I won't. I like to look at the price, but uh, sometimes I'll stop looking at it for a couple weeks, and I might miss a couple ups and downs. But I mean, if you're checking it once a day, you would have seen it was falling. You had 4 days to figure it out. But if you didn't figure it out in the first 2 days, you probably may as well just have held it, unless you happen to call the bottom. Which, for me, it was. Uh, usually that like just calling pretty much exactly the bottom is luck. That, however, I was really confident about because uh, it hit 5,200, and at the same time, the Bitcoin Cash was 2,600, and I knew that Bitcoin Cash is not worth half a Bitcoin. So as soon as I saw Bitcoin Cash equaling half a Bitcoin, I sold my half of a Bitcoin Cash for a quarter of a Bitcoin, which at 2,600 and 5,200, that was exactly the numbers. So I got the Bitcoin at 5,200 and I sold the Bitcoin Cash at 2,600. And it seems that the market agreed with me that Bitcoin Cash is not worth half a Bitcoin, because if you look now, Bitcoin Cash is 1,670 and Bitcoin is 9,500. So it's not even worth a quarter of a Bitcoin right now. Right now, I think Bitcoin. I'm still trying to kind of figure it out. Um, I obviously it's going up right now and has been for a while. I think it's going to go to 10,000 within the next within the next week or less. I mean, it could go to 10,000 tomorrow, but um, what's going to happen when it hits 10,000 is it's probably going to hit 10,000, stall there for a little bit, and then it's either going to break through the 10,000 mark, because there's usually psychological barriers at numbers like that. Um, so it's either going to break through 10,000, and if it does, it's going to shoot up really fast, or it's going to bounce back down, in which case it's probably going to bounce down, curve back up, and hit it a second time. And when it hits 10,000 the second time, it'll either go through and shoot up, but if it doesn't go through it the second time, it's probably going to go down for a few days. So I'm I didn't expect it to go up 9% today, but I think it'll stall at 10,000 for a few days. So any of my slow buys will be through. Um, I might buy more in an instant buy at this price, but I'm probably just gonna watch the graph. Um, and personally, I think that until I see what happens at 10,000, or as it nears 10,000, I'm gonna wait and decide what I want to do with, as far as if I want to buy more Bitcoin or not. So because it's nearing this 10,000 mark, and I'm not sure if it's going to blast through it or get knocked down by it. Now, if it does get knocked down, it will end up going back through it. It's probably, if it gets bounced back twice, it's probably going to fall for a bit before it goes back up. So my last two purchases personally were Litecoin and Ethereum. Litecoin is now up for the day. I think I bought it I bought it like yesterday, so I bought it right around where it's at. I might have bought it at 85 or something. Ethereum I bought yesterday for 460. So since I'm not sure what's going to happen at 10,000, now if it goes through the 10,000 mark, I'm probably going to buy more Bitcoin. But if it bounces back down, I'm going to hold it, and if it hits 10,000 again and bounces back down, I'm probably going to sell it. So since I'm kind of like in a waiting period to see what happens with Bitcoin, I've been buying Litecoin and Ethereum. Since I wanted to get some Litecoin and Ethereum, but I would have got Bitcoin, but I'm kind of just waiting to see what happens at 10,000. So, and Litecoin and Ethereum have been doing well also, but are not getting really close to a psychological barrier. Like, I'll start paying a closer attention to Litecoin as far as thinking about selling it when it gets around $100. And Ethereum, Ethereum, I feel like, is going to have less trouble going through 500 than Litecoin is going through 100 or Bitcoin going through 10,000. Ethereum doesn't seem to be massively affected by the psychological barriers, although I think it did get knocked down by $400 a long time ago. It got knocked down. I don't know if it actually hit 400 or not. I had already sold mine, but this time it didn't really seem to show any issues at 400. So I don't know if it'll show issues at 500. Let's see. Yeah, 400 was like right here. So if you look at that part on the graph, it didn't even pause at 400. So I'm not confident that it'll pause at 500. So I mean, I'd keep an eye on it, but right now I'm buying Litecoin and Ethereum. Out of my last 9 purchases with US dollars, I've been buying and selling other currencies, which you trade with Bitcoin. So if you have a Bitcoin balance, you can buy any of the other currencies in exchange for Bitcoin, and then you can sell them back in exchange for Bitcoin if you want to sell them. But my last 9, I think it was 9. My last 10 US dollar purchases, actually 11. So I bought, out of the last 11, 8 of them were Bitcoin, 2 were Litecoin, and 1 was Ethereum. And the last 3 was 2 Litecoins and Ethereum. So as Bitcoin got closer to 10,000, I slowed down on buying Bitcoin and switched to Ethereum and Litecoin. And if it goes through 10,000, I'll switch back to buying Bitcoin. But I've already got at the moment, I've put the majority of my holdings into Bitcoin. So I don't really need to buy more of that right now. If I'm going to buy more of anything, it's going to be Ethereum or Litecoin. Otherwise, I'll be just using my Bitcoin to trade against other coins. But that's out of the 3 that you can buy on Coinbase. If anyone has a specific question, whether it's about using Coinbase or CoinMarketCap or any of the exchanges, you can go ahead and ask in chat. This live stream is mainly to cover the basics, and I'll cover some more complicated stuff or more in-depth views and research on specific coins in later videos. I guess one thing I still need to cover is what is kind of what is the difference between a cryptocurrency and a stock in the stock market. So I personally trade both cryptocurrencies and stocks. I've been trading stocks for 10 years and cryptocurrencies for 4 years, 4 or 5 years. I think 4. Um, but uh, pretty much a cryptocurrency is the equivalent of a stock, but the stock is ownership of a portion of a company where the company creates a product. But in a cryptocurrency, usually the product is the cryptocurrency, so you're owning a portion of the product. So you're owning the company and the product at the same time. It varies from coin to coin, but so if I just describe Bitcoin, Bitcoin is supposed to be digital gold. There's a limited amount that will ever exist. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin in existence. So it's essentially the equivalent of digital gold. If you think about, there's a set amount of gold on Earth. Of course, they are mining more gold, but there is a set amount on the planet. And for now, they are mining more Bitcoin. I think they're at almost 17 million. If I go to CoinMarketCap, I can see that there's 16.7 million, the most that will ever exist. So there are people with computers running computer mining programs that are mining Bitcoin, but it gets harder and harder as time goes on. So it's getting exponentially slower. Like the amount of work that you have to put in to get a Bitcoin through mining is getting a lot higher. So it'll be a while before it hits 21 million. I think there might be a graph of the circulating supply. So no, it doesn't show a market graph or a circulating supply graph. But yeah, so it's like gold where there will never be more than 21 million. And so Bitcoin is a store of value. It's useful for people who don't want to lose money to inflation, people who want to invest in it. It's kind of like investing in gold, but gold's not really going up that much. So, like, there's been periods where gold's been going up a lot and you would have wanted to invest in gold. Gold's kind of stalled out right now because Bitcoin is just more useful than gold. It's really hard to buy and sell gold. So it's like a slower version of Bitcoin. You can make jewelry out of it, which is cool, but so you can make jewelry out of gold and you can't out of Bitcoin, but the Bitcoin can be like transferred between people a lot more easily. So say you wanted to give someone money that's on the other side of the country or the other side of the planet. It's really hard to give them money, or especially gold. Say you want to give someone in Germany some gold. I don't know if you can ship gold or what the rules on that are, but you could always bring some gold on a plane or on a boat, give it to them. But it's going to be really hard to get your gold to someone in a different country. I mean, I wouldn't personally want to drive a gold bar from East Coast to West Coast of the US, let alone take it across the Atlantic. So Bitcoin's just a lot more accessible than gold. It's easier to trade. You can store it on a hard drive, you can store it on a computer, you can store it on a phone, you can store it on paper, which you just write down your code, and which is it's going to be 24 alphanumeric digits. So you technically could just write it down on a piece of paper, or if you had a really good memory, you could memorize it, which I don't recommend, because if you have a worse memory than you thought, you could forget it, and then you can't have your Bitcoin anymore. But the Bitcoin belongs to whoever has the code. So if you store your code safe and you don't try to memorize it in your head or post your code on the internet, you're going to be fine. And so if you wanted to bring your Bitcoin with you somewhere, you could just bring a piece of paper or a USB drive or your brain if you really wanted to memorize it that bad. But the point is, you can access your Bitcoin from anywhere, which is it's a big plus. And in countries where they're having a lot of issues with inflation, people are buying up Bitcoin as much as possible, because when you're having a bunch of inflation, your money is becoming worth less and less. So they'd rather put their money in Bitcoin, which they're not going to print more than 21 million Bitcoin. So your money is safe from inflation, plus you have the perk of the fact that it's going up. So, and part of the reason it's going up is because some currencies are failing and people are trying to switch into Bitcoin. In certain countries where everyone's trying to switch into Bitcoin, Bitcoin's worth even more than it's worth here. But you would have to have access to a trading platform or a specific person in that country to trade with them. Plus, you probably wouldn't want their money. So, I mean, I guess you could take it and then try and convert it to US dollars right away, but that's probably more complicated than anyone would want to deal with. I'm trying to think if I've covered everything I wanted to cover in this stream. Yeah, I think that covers most of the basics. If anyone has any trouble figuring out how to make an account on an exchange or deposit money to an exchange or making a Coinbase account or buying or sending Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Ethereum off of Coinbase, go ahead and just leave a comment and I can get back to you. And if you use the link in the bottom of in the description, there's a link where you get, if you buy $100 or more worth of Bitcoin off of Coinbase, the first time that you do it, you can't just repeatedly buy $100 worth exactly. But the first time that you do it, you will get $10 free of Bitcoin. So yeah, I think that's it for today. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments and I can get back to you.